A man named George is traveling with a backpack. He looks around, grasping the new environment. He's been moving from one town to another, chasing the promise of something better. When he arrives in Los Angeles, he heads straight to an employment office.
Due to a computer error, the food stamp program has been suspended until...
During his interview, he explains that he came from Colorado. Things fell apart back home because they lost 40 banks in a week. The staff member tells him they don't have anything for him, and George walks out, his hopes dashed again.
There's nothing available for you right now.
Wandering the busy streets with nowhere to go, George comes across a street preacher surrounded by a few curious listeners.
And the fear of God is not before their eyes.
The preacher speaks with passion, warning that those in power are under the influence of dark forces manipulating the world through unseen means. George listens for a moment, but moves on when he spots a police car nearby. As he walks past a shop, he notices a man staring blankly at a television display showing nonsense commercials. The man seems lost in it, almost hypnotized. George shrugs it off and keeps going. Eventually, he finds a makeshift shelter for the homeless and decides to rest there for the night. In a nearby house, a woman is glued to a TV show featuring a vain celebrity obsessed with staying young. George, exhausted, sinks into a chair and reflects silently.
And I never grow old.
The next morning, he tries his luck at a construction site. The foreman initially turns him down. Only union members are allowed, but George, knowing this is his last resort, manages to persuade him. They agree on a daily wage, and George is given a spot. He starts the tough physical labor like the rest, but payment won't come for a few days. One of the workers, Frank, notices George's situation. He offers to show him a place to stay with food and a place to clean up. George is wary at first, but eventually agrees and follows him. They talk briefly before continuing on their road.
Justiceville's over on 4th Street. They got hot food and showers.
Frank brings him to a small community where people from different backgrounds have gathered, all drawn by the same hope of a better life. The atmosphere is warm, people look out for each other, and even children seem at ease. A man named Gilbert quickly gives George a simple task to help around the camp. Later, he's served a filling meal and listens as Frank opens up about his own journey, moving away from his family in Detroit and trying to earn enough to support them.
Steel mills were laying people off left and right.
Frank carries a deep resentment toward the wealthy decision-makers who shut down the factories back in his hometown. He blames them for throwing countless workers into poverty, and his patience is long gone. If another plant closes, he says he won't hold back anymore.
If they close one more factory, we should take a sledge to one of their fancy foreign cars.
George reminds him that it is better to have patience. Though he speaks calmly, his words are laced with frustration and a readiness to fight for survival. He warns George, half joking, half serious, that out here, everyone is competing for scraps. George, on the other hand, remains hopeful. He believes in starting fresh and working hard to rebuild his life.
I deliver a hard day's work for my money. I just want the chance. It'll come.
Later that evening, George walks around the camp and sees a group of residents watching TV. A flashy commercial about fake nails has them glued until the signal cuts out. Suddenly, the screen shows a nervous man delivering an unusual warning. He claims their world is an illusion, crafted by unknown beings who transmit signals that dull people's minds and keep them obedient.
State of consciousness that resembles sleep.
According to him, a few scientists discovered the truth. These signals strip away independent thought, keeping the poor poorer while injustice spreads. But the audience isn't interested. They quickly change the channel. As this happens, George notices a blind preacher standing nearby, echoing every word from the strange broadcast.
They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others.
Moments later, Gilbert rushes over and pulls the man aside. George watches them from a distance. He can't hear the conversation, but something about it seems tense. Gilbert leads the preacher quickly back toward the nearby church. George keeps his eyes on them as they go, sensing there's more going on than anyone is saying. The next morning, George sees Gilbert at the entrance of the camp and casually brings up the church visit. Gilbert brushes it off, saying the church helps feed the homeless and that he was just setting things up for the day.
Hey, we're taking care of a lot of people here.
Back inside the camp, the same unusual broadcast interrupts the television again. The man urges viewers to stop the mind control signals. Like before, the signal causes painful headaches, and the crowd is relieved when the screen switches back to sports. Gilbert quickly heads toward the church again, and this time, George decides to quietly follow. He enters the building and hears choir music playing. Nothing suspicious at first, but as he looks around, he discovers a hidden corner of the church where things don't add up. Behind the music, there's a small lab set up with chemicals and strange equipment. On one wall, someone has written, "They live, we sleep." He spots a tape recorder blaring the choir music to mask the real purpose of the gathering. Behind a wall, a hidden group, including Gilbert and the man from the television, is meeting in secret. They're working on hacking the broadcast system again, hoping to keep their message on the air long enough to wake people up.
Manufacturing Hoffman lenses till we're blue in the face?
Inside the church, the secret group discusses plans to expand their reach. They believe that spreading their message to more people is the only way to wake society up. While listening from a distance, George accidentally backs into a hidden door, uncovering a vault filled with boxes. Though curious, he decides it's not the right time to investigate and quietly shuts it. Just as he gets up to leave, he stumbles upon the blind preacher. George tries to explain that he was not doing anything wrong.
Just wanted to close it, didn't want no one breaking in. Neighborhood watch.
The preacher touches George's face and hands, seemingly recognizing him. He quickly begins speaking about a coming uprising and insists George has a part to play. Unsettled by the sudden intensity, George pulls away and bolts from the church. The preacher shouts after him, convinced he'll return one day.
This world may have blinded me, but the Lord has let me see.
Not long after, a helicopter hovers above the church, causing the group inside to grow uneasy. Once it flies off, George borrows a pair of binoculars from a neighborhood kid and keeps watch. He sees Gilbert and a few others carrying boxes from the building and loading them into a car. Before he can piece it together, Frank approaches. George tries to explain what he witnessed in the church. He reveals that there is no choir there and they just open a music tape. But Frank wants no part of it. He is scared of losing his job, and he warns George of the same thing happening to him. He then tells George not to dig into something that might get them both in trouble.
I'm walking a white line all the time. I don't bother nobody. Nobody bothers me.
That evening, the camp is quiet until sirens wail and floodlights pierce the darkness. Police vehicles surround the area, followed by bulldozers. Without warning, officers begin tearing down tents and shelters, sending the residents running in every direction. George watches in horror as the peaceful camp is reduced to rubble. The people panic and start running, and here is when officers with bulletproof glass start lunging at them. They push and hit the people who are attempting to escape their wrath. George runs away from the area to escape this. The officers show no restraint. They beat the preacher and the man from the strange broadcasts, ignoring their pleas.
My God, help me! Help me!
Both men are left lifeless, and anyone who stays behind meets a similar fate. George manages to rescue a terrified teenager hiding nearby, leading him to safety. As they run, officers came in front of them, and they ran to escape. Together, they climbed to the upper level of the ruined church and searched for shelter.
Come on in and join the party, man.
Eventually, they discover a hidden room where a handful of survivors are quietly waiting out the chaos. None of them understand why they were attacked. They spend the night in silence, trying to come to terms with the violence they've seen. When daylight comes, they step outside to assess the damage. The camp has been completely flattened, yet somehow a TV still sits in the open, playing absurd commercials as if nothing happened. George doesn't waste time. He sneaks back into the church to check the vault he found earlier. The slogan on the wall, "They live, we sleep," has been hastily painted over during the raid. Inside the pantry, he finds one box left behind, the same kind the group had been moving the day before. Just then, a police cruiser rolls past the building. George ducks down, staying out of sight, knowing he's only just beginning to uncover the truth. He then takes the box and gets out of the place. After finding a quiet place to hide, George opens the box he recovered from the church vault. To his disappointment, it's filled with nothing but sunglasses. Confused but curious, he stashes the box in a trash bin for later and takes one pair with him. As he walks through the city, he puts the glasses on, and everything changes. The world loses its color, shifting to stark black and white. What once seemed normal now appears strange and unsettling. Through the lenses, ads and signs reveal hidden commands. Obey, consume, marry and reproduce, watch TV, and others. Magazine covers and billboards lose their glossy appeal and instead display blunt orders. George picks up a magazine and reads the same colorless commands through the glass. But when he takes the glass out, it is a colorful, engaging magazine. Even more disturbing, some people no longer look human. Their faces morph into grotesque, skull-like creatures.
Thank you.
George keeps removing and putting the glasses back on to be sure it isn't just his imagination. The man standing near him looks like a monster through the glasses, but behaves normally otherwise, simply staring back. He continues exploring and notices a message printed on money. This is your God. At traffic lights, he sees hidden transmitters pumping out subliminal signals that repeat one word, sleep. George starts to understand that only some people are affected. Many humans seem completely unaware, casually interacting with these disguised aliens, who clearly hold the most power in society.
She didn't even go to Lama's class. I told her, for your son.
Inside a supermarket, George sees a politician giving a speech on TV. The man's real alien face is visible through the glasses, just like the others.
It's a new morning in America. Fresh, vital. The old cynicism.
George, overwhelmed by the absurdity of it all, but his reaction draws attention. He offends a woman who is also an alien in disguise and accuses her of not being what she appears. He announces to everyone that she is different when he puts the glasses on. The woman then realizes that George can actually see her. The people around him are confused, and George's cover is blown. The woman alerts her kind through a communicator hidden in her watch, describing George to the others.
He's a tall, Caucasian male. Doesn't appear armed.
Now targeted, George runs from the store in panic. As he rushes through the streets, he realizes that many of the creatures are watching him, but it's only when he lashes out at one of them that things escalate.
That's like pouring perfume on a pig.
Two fake police officers, who are also aliens, apprehend him and demand to know where he got the glasses. George refuses to talk. They try to recruit him, saying he can live well if he cooperates, but he refuses. In the struggle, George manages to overpower them, steal their weapons, and take them out. More police arrive quickly, and George flees again, this time into a nearby bank. Inside, he sees that many of the customers are aliens too. Acting fast, he opens fire on the disguised creatures. One of them sends out a distress call and vanishes into thin air before George can stop him.
Wearing sunglasses.
On the run once more, George spots a drone chasing him. He takes it down, then runs out. While running, he encounters a police officer, but he points his shotgun at him, making him run. He then ducks into a nearby parking garage, hoping to find cover. There, he runs into a woman named Holly. After confirming she's human, he forces her to drive him to her home.
Drive.
Holly drives him home. After parking the car, the two of them walk into her apartment. Two of her neighbors look at them as they walk into the house.
Hi, Holly.
At Holly's home, George collapses from exhaustion. As he sits on the ground, pulling her next to him, the adrenaline is wearing off.
Woo! It's like a drug.
He tries to explain everything, that he didn't mean to frighten her, that the world is being manipulated by dangerous beings hiding in plain sight. But Holly, still shaken, made it clear the only reason she obliged is because he has a gun, and she will continue to do so as long as he is holding the gun. He urges her to try on the special glasses so she can see what he sees. But Holly doesn't believe him. She refuses and keeps her distance, cautious of his unpredictable behavior.
If you want me to look through your sunglasses, I'll look through your sunglasses.
As he begins to relax and close his eyes, Holly moves quietly, hoping to slip away unnoticed. But George is still alert and watches her carefully.
Don't f with me.
She tells him she is thirsty, and he allows her to get a drink. He apologizes for being there, and he asks if her name is Holly. She confirms. Eventually, he asks her what she does for a living. She tells him she works behind the scenes at a television station. That catches his attention. He remembers that the creatures use television signals.
Assistant program director. Cable 54.
Just as he lowers his guard, Holly acts fast. She grabs a bottle, smashes it over his head, and shoves him out the window. George crashes onto the ground outside. Holly quickly calls the police as he is falling down. He somehow survives the fall, though he loses his glasses in the process. George flees before the police arrive and hides beneath a nearby bridge. The next day, George returns to the construction site, hoping to convince Frank to help him, but Frank is on edge. George's violent outburst and the public chaos he caused have made him seem dangerous. George tries to explain that the people he attacked were not human, but aliens wearing masks. Frank, however, tells him he has a wife and a kid and wants no part of it.
I got a wife and kids, so leave me alone.
George heads to the spot where he hid the box of glasses, but it's gone. The trash bins have been emptied. He notices a garbage truck nearby and climbs into the back. After digging through the garbage, he manages to find a few undamaged pairs of the glasses. Frank shows up by chance and sees George. He hands George some cash, saying it's a week's pay and all he can offer. He also makes it clear that he wants no more involvement. George puts on the glasses to once again make sure Frank is a human, and he did.
Wait! Hey!
George is desperate, so he calls from behind. He pleads with Frank to put on the glasses just once to see the truth for himself. Frank refuses, thinking George has completely lost it. Frustrated by his friend's disbelief, George punches him. What follows is a long, brutal fight between the two men, neither holding back. Amidst the fight, George hands Frank the glasses and asks him to put it on, but Frank throws them to the ground and attempts to step on them. George quickly intervenes, but Frank ends up throwing them instead of putting them on. The fight continues with each man having the upper hand interchangeably. They are bloodied and bruised and completely exhausted, but neither is stopping. Eventually, George gains the upper hand and forces the glasses onto Frank's face. What Frank sees leaves him speechless. Shocked and horrified, he realizes George was right all along.
You ain't the first son of a bitch to wake up out of their dream.
As they are standing there, they see an alien ship floating in the sky. Frank, unable to believe what it is, asks George for clarification. George takes him to the corner to avoid being noticed.
She's back in heat.
Now on the same page, the two of them rent a cheap motel room to regroup. Frank watches through the window wearing the glasses, absorbing the new grim reality he discovered. He then asks how long they have been there, and George cryptically answers, making Frank angry.
Well, they ain't from Cleveland.
Look, man, I don't need that kind of shit.
They talk about what to do next. Frank figures there must be others out there who know the truth, and they are the ones who made the sunglasses. They finally agree to find them. During the conversation, George opens up about his past. He describes a childhood filled with poverty and violence, especially at the hands of his abusive father.
Kicked my ass, told me about the power and the glory.
Years of oppression and inequality, he says, have created the perfect environment for these alien overlords to thrive. He wants justice for himself and for everyone who's been trapped in this system. The next morning, Frank goes out to pick stuff up, and when he comes back, Gilbert is waiting for him, wearing the glasses.
Frank?
He then follows him upstairs and calls from behind. Frank sees that he is a human and leads him to their room. He then gives them weapons, telling them people are now getting aware of the situation around them. After this, George and Frank go to a quiet location where a small gathering is taking place that evening. It's a secret meeting for people like them, those who've seen through the illusion.
They've colorized. Did you see that? My dad had one like that.
Inside, they meet others from all walks of life who now understand what's really going on. When they get in, they see everyone there is human. A woman approaches them and tells them that they can take their sunglasses off here. She then gives them contact lenses, telling them they are better. At first, the two men were wary, but they eventually took the lenses and put them on before going to Gilbert. He again greets them and tells them that even the human cops are against them because they are told the group are criminals.
They've been told that we're commies trying to bring down the government.
The conversation continues, and Gilbert explains more about the creatures behind the curtain. The beings who invaded Earth aren't here randomly. They're here for business. They've been recruiting regular people, offering wealth and power to anyone willing to help them maintain control. Earth, to them, is just a stopover, a temporary mine of resources to help build their next conquest. Natural disasters, economic collapse, even climate change. They've all been engineered to serve the aliens' bigger plans. And once the planet is drained, they'll simply move on to the next. The TV is playing the recording of the man.
Deplete the planet, move on to another.
George then takes them to a table full of weapons and tells them they want an assault unit so that they can hit them hard when they do start the fight. One of the group members shows Frank a strange alien watch. It's a communication and teleportation device, but no one has been able to fully figure out how it works. Frank takes it, hoping to unlock its secrets.
I've been trying to figure it out.
All right, now everybody listen up.
Gilbert gathers everyone and reminds them they don't have the numbers to stage a full-scale revolt. Not yet. But many in the group are restless and eager to fight back.
Now we start spilling some blood.
Gilbert urges caution. He tells them that they don't stand a chance when all they have is a couple of weapons, and the priority, he says, should be finding the origin of the mind control signal and shutting it down. If they can do that, people might finally wake up. That's when Holly unexpectedly shows up. She mentions that the signal is coming from somewhere else.
The transmission is going out clean. The signal's coming from somewhere else.
George sees her and tells Frank he needs to talk to someone and approaches her. She seems shaken. She asks if he is okay, and she thought that she killed him. He tells her that he is fine, smiling to reassure her. While fiddling with George's old glasses, she quietly apologizes for betraying him. Before they can talk further, gunfire erupts. The police have found them. The room explodes into chaos as the resistance members try to flee. The police start aggressively shooting at everyone. The people attempt to retaliate and fumble to escape, but the unexpected attack made them have the lower hand. Most of them don't make it out, but George and Frank manage to escape unharmed while shooting at the police. The men duck into an alley as they return fire at the alien-controlled forces. George insists on going back for Holly, unaware that she's already with them, but Frank holds him back, knowing they need to think smarter.
There's nothing you can do out there.
While fiddling with the alien watch, Frank accidentally activates something unexpected, a portal. It glows and pulses strangely, and before they have time to plan, the enemy starts closing in. With no other choice, the two men jump through. They emerge in what looks like an alien base hidden deep underground. The walls are covered with strange symbols they can't understand. They move cautiously down a hallway until they spot an alien checkpoint. The guards, dressed like human soldiers, report over a radio that the resistance has been neutralized. Then they leave, confident the job is done.
We got them! We wiped them out!
George and Frank move forward and follow the sound of voices. It leads them to a large, formal gathering. Inside, wealthy human collaborators raise their glasses while a man in a suit gives a speech. He proudly announces that Earth will soon be fully under alien control. The guests applaud, thrilled by the promise of privilege and rewards for their loyalty to the invaders. He shares data to prove just how successful their global manipulation has been. Finally, he announces that the rebel group has been attacked and they have managed to wipe them out completely. As George and Frank observe from where they are standing, they're approached by someone unexpected, a man they recognize from the old homeless camp, but he's changed sides. Now working with the invaders, he assumes the two of them have joined the cause too and casually mocks their worn-down clothes.
You know, I knew me and you had a lot in common.
Thinking they're allies, the man offers to show them around. He brings them through hidden parts of the base.
Now, you think that's something? Take a look at this.
They eventually reach what looks like a space terminal. There, aliens disguised as humans board shuttles bound for other planets.
And we hope you have a pleasant trip.
He tells them he doesn't know how the things work, but using the shuttles, they can go wherever they want. He compliments the aliens for being organized and powerful. Next, he leads them into the media wing, specifically the area behind a television studio. This, he says, is the heart of the operation. From here, satellite signals are sent across the globe, keeping the population brainwashed and obedient. George cleverly flatters their guide into getting them closer to the broadcast control room. But when the guards demand credentials, things quickly fall apart. The two friends draw their weapons and take out the alien security.
Right here.
Then they ask their former acquaintance where the signal is coming from. He tells them it is coming from the roof. The two men prepare to go there, but the man pleads with them to stop, insisting they're fighting a losing battle. There are no good people anymore, and their world is fully under the control of the aliens. He tries to tempt them with promises, comfort, privilege, and protection as long as they pledge loyalty to the invaders. But George and Frank refuse to betray what they believe in. Just then, a man bursts in, shortly distracting them. Using this moment, the man that was with them teleports away.
See you, boys.
Let's go!
George and Frank push through the chaos, fighting their way through the studio, clearing out the aliens. They keep walking in the hallway, attempting to find a way to the roof. George stops a nervous woman and demands to know where Holly is, but the woman, startled by their weapons and sudden approach, gets scared. Finally, they reach an office filled with human collaborators. Wasting no time, they head to the top. As they move, more forces come, and the two men clear their way swiftly.
Security 950, lock the elevators down. They're on the move.
Suddenly, they run into Holly, alive and seemingly unharmed. They quickly pull her with them and continue their way up. Together, the three of them fight off more alien forces until they reach the building's highest level. But the moment they think they've made it, everything shifts. Without warning, Holly turns on them. She shoots Frank in the head, killing him instantly, then steps onto the rooftop. George didn't see what happened and steps onto the rooftop alone. There, he finds the satellite dish that's responsible for the global broadcast. As he gets ready to destroy it, Holly appears behind him and raises her gun, demanding that he stand down. George, unaware of the situation, tries to stop her, but the alien forces have already taken control. The two men
Don't do it.
A helicopter arrives, warning him that they will open fire. They start a countdown, but George doesn't hesitate. He spins and fires first, taking her out. Then he turns his weapon on the satellite dish and destroys it. From above, the helicopter opens fire, riddling him with bullets. As George dies, he gives the enemy a defiant farewell, a final gesture of rebellion. But the damage is done. The signal is gone. Across the world, people finally see the truth.
How to buy a sailboat as Prime Minister.
Like shit. I'm on it.
The disguises fall away. Aliens that had been hiding in plain sight, on TV, in offices, and in relationships are exposed for what they truly are. The illusion is shattered, and it's all thanks to one ordinary man from Colorado who refused to sleep through the lies.